The Ugly Tree. Once upon a time, in a beautiful valley surrounded by green hills and clear rivers, there stood a peaceful garden. The garden was famous far and wide for its beauty. Tall mango trees offered sweet fruit, apple trees stood proud with shining red apples, and flowering plants filled the air with fragrance. Birds sang joyfully, butterflies danced from flower to flower, and travelers often stopped to admire the place. In the middle of this garden stood a tree that did not belong. It was twisted and bent, with rough bark and crooked branches. Its leaves were dull, its trunk scarred, and it bore no flowers or fruits. Compared to the other trees, it looked weak, broken, and ugly. Everyone in the garden called it the ugly tree. The other trees often whispered among themselves. "Look at it," said the apple tree proudly. "I give sweet fruit to humans. What purpose does that tree serve?" "At least I bloom with colorful flowers," added the rosebush. "That tree brings no beauty at all." Even the mango tree laughed softly. "It ruins the beauty of our garden." The ugly tree heard every word. Trees may not speak like humans, but they feel deeply. Each insult cut into its heart like a sharp knife. Day after day, it stood silently, enduring shame and loneliness. Sometimes children visited the garden with their parents. They ran around happily, but avoided the ugly tree. "Why is this tree so strange?" one child asked. "It looks scary," said another. The ugly tree wished it could disappear. At night, when the moonlight bathed the garden in silver, it cried quietly, its tears falling as dew on the dry soil. "Why was I made like this?" it wondered. "Why am I different? Why am I unwanted?" The gardener's decision. One day, the owner of the garden, an old and wise gardener, came to inspect the trees. He noticed that visitors spent time around the fruit trees and flowers, but never near the ugly tree. He stood silently in front of it, observing its twisted trunk and deep roots. "This tree does not look healthy," said one helper. "It should be cut down," said another. "It takes space and adds no value." The other trees listened carefully, feeling relieved. "Yes, cut it down," whispered the apple tree. "The garden will be more beautiful without it," agreed the mango tree. The ugly tree trembled with fear. It had survived storms, droughts, and years of mockery, but now its life was in danger. The gardener raised his hand for silence. "No," he said calmly, "we will not cut this tree." Everyone was surprised. "This tree stays," the gardener continued. "Time will reveal its purpose." The helpers were confused, but they respected the gardener's wisdom. The storm. Months passed, seasons changed. The ugly tree remained the same. No fruits, no flowers, no praise. The insults continued. Then one dark evening, the sky turned black. Strong winds began to howl. Thunder roared, and lightning split the sky. A terrible storm swept through the valley. Rain poured like never before. The river overflowed, and the soil in the garden became loose and muddy. The beautiful trees began to shake violently. "I can't hold on," cried the apple tree. "My roots are slipping," screamed the mango tree. One by one, trees began to fall as the soft soil could not support them. Branches snapped, fruit scattered, and flowers were destroyed. But the ugly tree stood firm. Its roots were deep, much deeper than anyone had imagined. While others focused on growing fruits and flowers, the ugly tree had spent years growing strong roots underground, silently and patiently. The storm grew stronger. Winds pushed harder. The ugly tree spread its thick branches wide, blocking the wind. Birds flew towards it, seeking shelter. Small animals hid near its strong trunk. Even some broken branches from other trees leaned against it for support. By morning, the storm ended. The garden was silent. A new morning. As the sun rose, the gardener returned to the garden. His heart sank at the sight. Many beautiful trees had fallen. Flowers were destroyed. Fruits lay wasted on the ground. But in the center of the garden stood the ugly tree, strong, steady, and unbroken. Around it, birds were safe. Animals rested peacefully. Even some broken trees from other trees leaned against it for support. The gardener smiled. "Now you understand," he said softly. The surviving trees felt ashamed. "We judged you by your appearance," whispered the apple bush. "We never saw your strength," whispered the rose bush. "You saved us," said the mango tree. The ugly tree said nothing. It had never wanted praise, only acceptance. True beauty revealed. From that day on, the garden changed. The gardener placed a bench near the ugly tree. Visitors now rested under its wide shade. Children played around it without fear. Travelers admired its strength and unique shape. The gardener told everyone, "This tree may not be beautiful to the eyes, but it is beautiful in purpose. True beauty is not about appearance. It is about strength, character, and value." The ugly tree finally felt peace. For the first time, it was no longer called ugly. It was called the strong tree. Moral of the story: never judge others by their appearance. True beauty lies in strength, patience, and purpose. Those who seem weak or different may be the strongest of all.